to meet with me when I came over there. Now, Christopher Lee, for people who don't know, played Dracula in a whole bunch of Dracula movies back in the late 50s and 60s and 70s. And then he went on to be in the Lord of the Rings movies and Star Wars movies, and passed away a couple of years ago, but was one of the most prolific actors in the world. I mean, he did over 200 movies. Anyway, so he invited me to have lunch at Pinewood Studios, which was the big British studio there. I go out there, and it turns out that he's making a film called The Man with the Golden Gun.
Interesting.
Which is a James Bond movie with Roger Moore, where he is playing the main villain. He's playing the title role of the Man with the Golden Gun. And he says, I interview him over lunch for my little fanzine. And then he said, why don't you stay in the rest of the afternoon and watch us filming? And I'm like, holy moly, this is great. So I got to meet Roger Moore. I got the tour of the James Bond sets and met the Bond girls, Britta Eklund and Maud Adams.
Oh, my gosh.
Met the director, Guy Hamilton. And I also met the guy who played Christopher Lee's little sidekick, Hervé Villechaize.
Oh, my gosh,
him?
from Fantasy Island. Boss, the plane.
The plane, exactly.
The plane.
At the end of the day, Christopher Lee says, do you want to share a ride with us back to London? And they give us a Rolls-Royce limousine. And I'm like, sure, that'd be great. So I climb into the back and sit in the little fold-down chair that faces backwards. And right in front of me, sitting on the back seat, is Christopher Lee, who's about 6'6", and Hervé Villechaize, who's about 4'2", and they start talking. And Hervé, well, let's just say he's kind of 10 sheets to the wind.
10 sheets to the wind? Oh my gosh!
Yeah, he is drunk as a skunk, and he starts talking about. Well, let me put this as politely as I can. He starts telling very raunchy stories about all of the ladies of the night that he's been hiring since he's come to London.
Oh, my goodness.
In graphic detail. So Christopher Lee, who is a very, sort of reserved and serious gentleman, is listening to this, and he starts to giggle and he starts to laugh, and then he just like bends over in hysterics. He thought this was the funniest thing ever, and I'm laughing, and every time we would compose ourselves, then Hervé would say some other really raunchy thing, and we would bust the gut all over again. It was just crazy. It was the most hilarious day of interviewing somebody that I've ever had.
Oh, you've got me laughing in this one. I can imagine Hervé would say, Ricardo, let me borrow your Cordoba so I can buy you a rich Corinthian leather.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
and much worse.
Oh,
ironically, there's an HBO film that just came out in the last few months called My Dinner with Hervé, and it stars Peter Dinklage as Hervé Villechaize, and it's all about a guy who has had dinner. It was a true story. He had dinner with Hervé Villechaize, and it was a memorable night. And I was thinking, damn, I should have written the script, my limo ride with Hervé or something. It was just as crazy.
That would make a great reality series, I'll tell you that. Yeah. My ride with Hervé, my ride with Ricardo, my ride with Christopher, my ride with fill in the blank. I think you have a great idea for the next reality series.
Well, I hate to tell you this, but they've been kind of doing that on a couple of shows. There's I think Jay Leno does something like that. RuPaul does a thing like that, and anyway, it's
take an extreme like Hervé. It's like the next level up. They say.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh my goodness! And of course, just a few minutes here with Sam Irvin. Who are your most favorite actors and actresses that you've ever worked with on these films?
Well, Rod Steiger was an incredible actor to work with, and he won the Oscar for um, In the Heat of the Night, and he was nominated for On the Waterfront. I mean, he's just an incredible powerhouse actor. And my first feature film, Guilty as Charged, stars him in the leading role, and it was quite, I was intimidated to have someone like that, and what am I going to tell him to do, kind of thing, and I was worried that he wouldn't take me seriously, and so the first day of shooting, we shoot this big speech. He's at a podium, and he gives this big monologue and does it fantastically. And we shoot the sort of wide angle of it. And then I say, great, okay, print that. We're ready to move on. Now let's go in for a tighter shot. And he comes over to me and he says, now, Sam, how tight is this going to be? Where is the bottom of the frame? Is it going to be on my chest, my waist? What is it? And I go, well, it's going to be kind of chest up. And he goes, oh, great. He unbuckles his pants, drops them to the floor, and he said, I'm really hot. And so so the rest of the coverage of this scene he did with his boxer shorts.
Oh my goodness.
It was really funny. But he and I got along fantastically, and he was very I was totally respectful of him, of course, but he was also very respectful of my situation of being a first-time director, and couldn't have been more helpful, and just a really, really great guy. And then came back and worked with me again, which I was really happy about, for just a small role, kind of a guest cameo role in that movie Out There that had Billy Bob Thornton. And you know what? I should also mention, in that movie Out There, that had Billy Bob Thornton and Rod Steiger and Julie Brown and Jill St. John and June Lockhart, and I mean, the list just goes on and on. The lead actor in it was Billy Campbell from The Rocketeer. Now, his co-star in The Rocketeer was Jennifer Connelly,
Mm-hmm.
and they had become an item for a while, and they were still together when he was starring in this film that I was doing Out There. Well, she would come and visit the set, and I was a big fan of hers, and there was a scene in a grocery store where Billy Campbell was checking out and Julie Brown was behind him, and I decided to do my little Stan Lee cameo, where I would be a patron in line with them in the grocery line. And Jennifer Connelly was visiting that day, and I said, Jennifer, why don't you come and stand with me, and we'll pretend to be husband and wife, and we'll just be in the grocery line. And she said, sure. So she's standing with me in the grocery line and everything. We have no lines. We're just there. So when you see the film, you'll see Jennifer Connelly standing in line. And, here's an actress who went on to win an Oscar for A Beautiful Mind. And, so here we have a movie that now, in retrospect, has 3 Oscar winners: Rod Steiger, Billy Bob Thornton, and Jennifer Connelly.
Oh my gosh, what a trifecta. We'll have to check that out.
pretty cool.
And of course, we have a couple of minutes. We know you're a very busy guy here. And who do you consider biggest influence or influences in your career?
Well, I am a huge fan of Alfred Hitchcock. I love his films, and he certainly was someone I studied in film school. And I think I'm always thinking of different shots that he did. Brian De Palma, who I worked with, was certainly very influential. I love James Whale, the director of the original Frankenstein movies that Ian McKellen portrayed in Gods and Monsters. We even had a flashback scene in Gods and Monsters on the set of The Bride of Frankenstein, which is my all-time favorite movie. And that was just so surreal to be able to recreate the laboratory set from that movie and have lookalike actors playing Boris Karloff and Elsa Lanchester, and it was really something else. But I continue to be inspired by those great directors.
It does sound amazing too. And what advice would you give for upcoming actors, producers, directors? What advice would you give at the moment?
Well, this is the advice I always give. When someone says to me, I want to try to make it in the business, I'm going to come to LA and I'm going to give it 2 years, and if it works out, great. If it doesn't, then I'll go back home and get a quote unquote regular job. What I tell them is stay at home and get the regular job, because this business is so competitive that if it's not a passion in your very being that you're going to give it your all forever, no matter what happens, then you really shouldn't bother. If when you come out and try to get into this crazy business, you've got to just have the attitude of, I don't care what it takes. I don't care how many years I have to wait on tables. I am going to keep going to every audition. I'm going to keep trying to, get that directing gig or whatever. It's just got to be that kind of obsession for you to really be able to make it in this business, I think.
It sounds like great advice too. And of course, before I let you go, you've been great to talk to. What are some of your upcoming projects or upcoming films, TV series, and what's your website and how do people contact you?
Well, I'm on Facebook. Just go Sam Irvin. Last year I had my busiest year ever. I directed 6 movies. I did 5 thrillers for the Lifetime Network and 1 Christmas movie for the Hallmark Channel called Christmas Made to Order. It just premiered on December 23rd. And so I am in the recharging my batteries mode at the moment, waiting for the phone to ring. When you're a freelance director, you're either completely unemployed one minute and then very employed the next. But the production companies I work with and that I worked with last year all tell me they've got things in the pipeline that I'll be doing with them this year. And so I'm just kind of waiting for that phone to ring. And in the meantime, writing about showbiz and doing my sort of labor of love writing projects. So it keeps me out of trouble.
That's great too. And of course, one more thing, tell everybody about your book and where can they find it?
Now, the Kay Thompson book, it's called Kay Thompson From Funny Face to Eloise. You can find that on Amazon. I have a website for it. It's www.kaythompsonwebsite, all written out, Kay Thompson, THOMPSON, website, WEBSITE.com. And that'll give you all the information about the book and a lot of great photos. And I have 500 pages of endnotes that are
wow.
Free. It's as long as the book. So it's pretty interesting. A lot of sidebars and a lot of stuff that I just didn't have room to put in the book.
That is amazing, and looking forward to that. And Sam would like to thank you very much for being on the program. Great talking to you, and look forward to talking with you again, maybe around Christmas time, to give a recap on some of the films and everything and some of your project updates. And like to have you on again soon. It's been fun.
It's been great. Thank you so much, Mike. I've had a great time.
You've been listening to The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios at themikewagnershow.com. Visit sonicwebstudios.com today for all your web design needs. If you would like to be a sponsor of The Mike Wagner Show, call or text at 701-301-7705 or email to mike at themikewagnershow.com. If you're a listener and would like to support our program, visit themikewagnershow.com and click on the support button and donate today. Thanks for listening, and tune in again next time on The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com.